So Magnus, you are the Chief Software Officer at Mercedes, and that's a unique role for our times, considering the importance of software, and it reflects to how important Mercedes sees software. And how do you see software at Mercedes, and how important is it?
Well, we are in a transformation in the automotive industry at the moment. We've seen that with the full battery electric vehicles, and software comes into this equation through the fact that the customer also is now getting used to more features and more convenience, having an object, the car, that is no longer static. So Mercedes-Benz have built cars for 130 years, and the cars have always been very attractive or emotional, but they have been static. Once you have produced a vehicle, it's the same. That can be very positive because many classics are timeless. But today, many customers want their vehicle to be dynamic. They expect their Mercedes-Benz to be a car that fits into their ecosystem.
Software is so critical to the experience of the brand. How do you see that evolving over time?
We have worked on defining what does it mean for the customer. And leading car software, that is what Mercedes-Benz wants to do with our own ship-to-cloud architecture, which we call Mercedes-Benz operating system. And it needs to be, number one, give time back to the customer. And that we're doing with our autonomous driving system. And we can only do that with software. The second piece of it needs to be constantly evolving. That expectation, then, what you expect from the vehicle is fundamentally different. And that we can configure and make it unique to you with the software.
How do you think about safety when you're looking at this world of software-defined vehicles?
We have different safety classification in the vehicle. Ultimately, the vehicle needs to be an object that you trust and that is certified from the government perspective. For example, we have autonomous driving system. They are, of course, mission critical, also the drivetrain and the brakes and so forth. They have the highest level of safety standard, where we have redundancy and we have ways to guaranteeing that the systems are safe. Then we have areas which are less critical, for example, voice assistant. So that's how we look at safety to classify it differently.
And so in a world where you go into artificial intelligence, and by just definition of artificial intelligence, it's not deterministic, how do you deal with that?
In the world today, we're actually separating it by physical separation. So having, for example, autonomous driving and infotainment system separated in the compute. We're seeing a direction in the future where we could have this type of functionality actually in the same compute.
Right.
But it does require the evolution of the compute to be able to separate and guarantee that these computes have absolutely no impact on each other.
How do you use ARM in the Mercedes car today?
ARM is a central piece of the compute, of the core, in our main partner chips that we're leveraging today. So that the two marquee names are, of course, Qualcomm and NVIDIA, where both of them are being used for our system that we're launching on the streets. So the new CLA is coming out here in the spring. We just launched the E-Class earlier this year with some great reviews. So
you now have the attention of the ARM ecosystem, 20 million developers, one of the largest ecosystems in the world. What can we do to have Mercedes move even faster and be the best in the world?
Making sure that when we move from the simulated world where we are then running our software in a simulated new ARM core or a new ARM solution. When we then get the actual silicon, that is exactly the same. We compete in this very competitive landscape, and it's primarily based on speed and how do we make sure that we get the power consumption down in order to bring the cost down, because any compute that is power hungry is going to take range away from the battery vehicles. And anything that requires then us to put more mass in, it's just gonna be counterproductive.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being here with me, Magnus. It was wonderful having this conversation.
Lovely to be here. Thank you very much.